your boy, Remoy George Phillip, the first.
And it's Samantha and Zessie Kifler.
This is Masculinity.
The show that investigates the performance of masculinity in the world today, and you know we spell it with a hard K.
Samantha.
What can I do for you, Remoy?
Okay, so there's a piece of information about you, actually, that I want to surprise our loyalist of loyal listeners with.
Wow. First of all, shout out to our loyal listeners. And second, I'm impressed. You know, I'm intrigued.
Impressed? With what, may I ask?
I mean, that you want to make this episode about me. All about me.
Yeah,
finally,
you wish.
You know, as a woman, to actually be prioritized by a man in this patriarchal world, I mean, why wouldn't any woman want that?
Okay, well, so to make it about you, for now, actually, 3 or 4 questions.
Okay. I mean, I may have 3 or 4 answers for you, maybe.
Okay, well, all right. Didn't you, and this is my question, loyal listeners, didn't you, Samantha, study film in college? Was it like your major or something like that? Or you took a film class or 3 or something like that, right?
I did, actually. Yeah, I did major in film, if you can believe that. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Good answer. See, listeners, how surprised are you? Okay, but with that in mind, I'm wondering, did you take any classes maybe on cinematography?
No, I was like trying to be on my like film theory, like criticism type bit. So I was all up in the books. I was actually a literati.
I was about to say, who's a literati now?
I was a precursor to you.
Yeah. Okay, so second question. Did you take any classes on, say, like blocking or framing? And I'm talking specifically for film purposes.
I did not. Actually,
the theory, the super intellectual. I get it. All right. Game recognizes game. It's cool. And
let's call it that. Yeah.
Maybe last question. Did you take any classes on feminism in film?
You know, I didn't. But shout out to Shelley Stamp. She always infused feminism into whatever film we were watching. She was like, "Where are the women? None of them are speaking." So shout out to her wherever she is.
That's why we're here today.
You know.
No, today's episode, okay, it touches on all of those things, but let's just say in a very timely way.
Well, so you want to do a Golden Globes recap episode? Wow, it is a New Year's. It's like your New Year's resolution because
sure.
Listeners, if you know anything about Remoy and I know anything about Remoy, I know that he would never. So, and actually, I guess you really do want to make this episode endearing to me, which let me just say, how kind, how thoughtful.
Okay, well, the actual story for this episode is a timely one because it touches on, let's say, a very challenging time that happened just a year ago.
Okay, you got my attention.
Right, but one that, you know, synthesizes all those questions and answers you gave that we just did and merges it into, like, I'll say, a very surprising fashion.
Okay, this is where I'll say that I'm intrigued because I legitimately am. Okay, so who did you speak to for this one?
Okay, good question. That would be an old colleague and friend, Azza Cohen. Our work paths crossed in the past because Azza works as a videographer, filmmaker, cinematographer.
Okay, I mean, that all makes sense, but I'm nowhere closer to getting that whole timely tease that you're trying to get at.
Well,
not close.
I'll just let Azza do all the revealing.
The American people deserve to have women in leadership normalized as a visual element of our everyday experience of politics, because sexism and racism doesn't just hold back like women and people of color. It holds back everyone because we are depriving ourselves of the best leaders.
Wait, what? I mean, in theory, I'm totally here for what Azza and you are going to reveal to me, but seriously, what is this about?
Well, let's just say I'll give my stump speech right after this short break.
Curious about next-gen men? We're a small part of a much larger movement to undefine masculinity for a brighter future. Our mission is clear: empower the next generation to use their curiosity, empathy, and courage to build a more equitable world. Join the Next Gen Men community as we learn and unlearn together. We're here to support boys and men to break free from limiting stereotypes. We're not just an organization, we're a catalyst for reimagining masculinity and fostering inclusivity. We're here to help open up possibilities for what men and boys can be. Explore the world of Next Gen Men at nextgenmen.ca and join the community to make a difference. Next Gen Men, shaping tomorrow's leaders one step at a time. Join us and help undefine masculinity and empower the next generation of men to lead with empathy and courage.
Okay, so we got film, we got women, we got politics. Again, I'm here for all of these things, but what are we talking about here, Remoy?
Okay, well, let's just say, you know, one of the hats I wear as a filmmaker, correct?
Of course I do. Audience, I've even been on one of Remoy's film sets. Maybe even acted on a film set of Remoy's.
Yes, you have.
Shout out to Other Colors, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that goes. And you know, vaguely speaking, at one point in my life, I also worked in the American political machine.
That's how you know Azza? Like, meaning the political work worlds? Like, did I get that right? That's how I know each other?
Right. When I worked in politics was when me and Azza met. We worked, let's just say in part for the Democratic Party in the 2020 election.
Well, for better or for worse, like, wherever you worked and all the work you did, well, it worked. I mean, it probably wasn't your or my favorite choices for the ticket, but Biden and Harris were better than what ended up happening in the last, or I guess next election.
You've actually literally said and circled exactly what I want to talk about today.
Oh, wait, you want to talk about Kamala or maybe Kamala losing? I don't know if I want to talk about that, actually.
Well, I think that'll inevitably come up, but there's something in Kamala losing that I just think we as the culture, or at least like us progressive folks, have kind of forgotten already. And it's kind of a shame.
Oh, okay. Say more about that.
Yeah, and I want to bring it back to Azza's last job.
Which was what?
Well, after she left me, or I left her, she ended up becoming, wait for it, Vice President Kamala Harris's videographer.
Wait, what? Damn, I buried the lead there, Remoy.
Well,
okay, but wait, so what is that job?
that's a fair question. So basically, Azza was there on the ready, camera in hand, to like document the vice president's kind of every day or their work. That can look like everyday life, public appearances, speeches, also policy initiatives, you name it. And that's being documented for like the general public to consume, or also for archival purposes.
Wow. I mean, I can't imagine how crazy of a job that is. Like, documenting the first woman, a Black woman at that, as vice president? Like that, I don't even have words for that. Like, really exciting.
No, totally. And from day one, though, as Azza told me, her job was very intense and challenging, especially what Azza witnessed the vice president having to deal with each and every day. Here's Azza with more.
My first day on the job, it was July 26th, 2022, which is the anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. And I will never forget, she walked in, she's at a table of disabled activists. She did an outfit description. And she said something like, I'm a woman and I'm wearing a blue suit and my hair is brown, which is very typical in spaces for people who are visually impaired or blind. And I remember thinking, oh my God, she's so cool. Like, she's so thoughtful. And later that afternoon, the Fox News headline was like, Kamala Harris calls herself a woman, basically making fun of her for doing an outfit description and saying it was like woke bullshit. It was my first time filming her. And I remember so distinctly the feeling of my stomach dropping and thinking, wow, this is a nasty ball game.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Indeed, but not surprising, right? Like that kind of level of hate from Fox News.
Yeah, not surprising at all, actually.
But Azza was clear with me. It wasn't actually just the conservative outlet. It was everywhere throughout the media landscape.
Oh, interesting.
This is not just, oh, Fox News did a bad job covering Kamala Harris. I saw this across every major network, every major newspaper, TikTok creators, influencers of all kinds. The ways that we create images of women and then edit them obviously affects our ability to perceive them and our ability to picture them as leaders.
Yeah, I mean, even before you teased it, before the tape, I could see it. Like, I want to say I'm like so surprised. Like, I can't believe anybody would say this. But like, I mean, even if I think about it for literally just a second, maybe a fraction of a second, not at all. Not at all surprising. Nope.
Look, I hear you. I'm kind of, let's say, clocking what you're saying, but use more words. What specifically is not surprising for you?
I will use one word: sexism. I mean, I don't know.
Sure. Sure. Okay. Yeah. But spell that out for me, Samantha, will you? To me, our loyal listeners, what exactly here is sexist?
I mean, it's like what Azza said, right? Like how all outlets portrayed the vice president, or at times were condescending toward her, proves how deeply ingrained patriarchy, or masculinity with that hard K, is ingrained in our society. Like, she was literally our second in command, and yet, because she's a woman, the media would so quickly find ways to just chip away at her leadership, like at every single turn.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I think calling out all outlets, even like the more progressive ones, shows the more subtle threads of patriarchy, specifically like you called out. It's like been installed in us, or how we've been socialized or conditioned to not be able to, just trust women as, God forbid, being our leaders.
Exactly. Like, it's just dumb. Blatantly stupid. Whack.
Yeah. Well, hearing this story from Azza, this is kind of what really started to synthesize for me how Azza approached her job moving forward. And led me to ask those kind of questions I was trying to get at you at the top of the show.
What do you mean?
Yeah. So Azza, being a videographer as well as a cinematographer, that means like literally holding the camera and organizing each shot that would document and capture America's first female vice president. It became clear that, she had this very, very specific responsibility. I'll let Azza fill in the blanks for the rest.
I was really conscious all the time about her, about other Black women she would be on camera with, or people of all races that she was on camera with. And so that was the main way that I thought about it, was really about like lighting and white balance.
Oh, okay. I see. So this is why you asked me about cinematography and framing and all that earlier.
Exactly.
It's interesting to think about because she is like sort of like the first baddie in the White House, right? She's the first person who looks that good, who has that great of a tan, who has that that nice luscious skin, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So yeah, I feel like, there's got to be some adjustment around that.
Well, okay. Well, actually, I want to a little sidetrack here, a little tangent. I'm assuming in your film school studies, you did or didn't come across the term white balance before?
Very lightly.
Right. Okay.
Very lightly. So ask me what that is. I would be able to tell you. Kind of. Not really.
You ain't the only one. So I never went to film school or never really studied formally. I just kind of figured it out on the go, like working on short films with friends. And then, when I started making my own along the way, and just kind of learned along the way,
It's like that literati life, just, taking everything by storm. Shout out to you, Remoy. That's amazing. Very typical and also dope.
Relax. So I got my understanding, though, of white balance, like this kind of process of like calibrating your camera and gear sort of to like capture the correct colors that you're filming in real life, right? And this can be like when you're actually filming or in the editing process, or even if like you're doing still photography.
Of course, you are also a photographer.
Hey,
did you sleep?
Hey, man. The photos,
sleep.
they've been in a couple art shows, or maybe one. I don't know. I won't say they haven't, though.
Of course. Amazing. Talk your shit.
But I honestly never considered white balance as like this important, maybe even controversial process. Like never. But then when Azza brought it up like she did, it's like, duh, like there's absolutely white supremacy involved.
Oh, figured that's what it was. But I got to know the insider scoop.
The history of camera technology is very racist. The original Kodak Shirley cards to calibrate skin tone were based on white women. Camera technology has thankfully evolved, but the mechanism for communicating images with people is rooted in a history of white supremacy and of specifically not deeming it important to reflect accurately what multiple skin tones look like.
Isn't that crazy? Like white balance? Like I never heard of Shirley cards like Azza said before, but it turns out there was like literally a woman named Shirley, and her like light skin complexion or tone was used to be the sort of like this benchmark for color balance. So there it is again. Whether we know it or not, white supremacy.
To be honest, we kind of should have figured that out because it's like right there in the name.
It's literally
it's like right there in the name. Like what else could that
That's how we are, right?
refer to?
Yeah.
And then they call it balance, even though it's obviously not, whatever. It's fine.
Right. And you can see with that knowledge that Azza had and knowing her new role being Kamala's videographer, it became like super important to her to do everything with this piece of information, this historical knowledge, along with her professional skills, capture the vice president in the most true to life way possible.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of where Azza was coming from. That was her motivation. But then alongside, working side by side with the vice president, regularly, if not daily, she quickly started experiencing something maybe even more profound. I'll call it like sort of this vice president's influence.
I mean, I can kind of imagine, but how?
Well, there's one story in particular that points out well, and I'll just let Azza tell it from here.
One day, kind of earlier in my job there, when we were filming a video, and of course, I took it really seriously, asking her to do a second or third take. I always wanted to make her restate it so that we could communicate effectively, right? Like, this is the vice president. Every minute counts. I said something like, "Oh, ma'am, I'm so sorry. I just need you to do this one more time." And she interrupted me to say, "Do not apologize for doing your job well." That stuck with me. Even today, I hear her voice saying, "Do not apologize for doing your job well."
Samantha, I'm sure if you heard that from Vice President Harris, that would leave some sort of mark on you, no?
Yeah. I mean, Kamala Harris is a politician. She has issues like all of them. But I think it's a struggle to be taken seriously as a woman sometimes. So like,
Sure.
And by sometimes, I mean most of the time.
Oh, no. Yep.
And we know and have seen how she's dealt with that, Kamala Harris specifically, despite all her accolades, all her experience, and still made it to the level that she did. So someone working at that level of expertise that has been proven to be dope would definitely leave a mark on me. Like Kamala Harris saying that to me, I would feel that in my heart because I know that it's coming from a real place.
Well, I think the same was true for Azza, and it would honestly change her forever. Sure, in the job specifically, but also just how she shows up day in and day out.
I really credit Vice President Harris with building my confidence to stand up for myself. I am a nice Midwestern girl who doesn't talk back. But after working for her and seeing her navigate so many situations with grace and dignity and taking up space and speaking up for herself, it really affected me and it made me more confident in myself as well.
Samantha, like, what gooey, warm feelings does that make you feel?
It feels nice. And I just want to say, I think it's worth mentioning that for all the conversations that exist around men being leaders, like it took a woman being a leader to make Azza feel confident, to like step into her confidence and like believe in herself in that way. And that championing is everything. Like being encouraged to take up space by Kamala Harris would be a highlight for most. I mean, including myself. Like, I can't lie.
Well, feelings are one thing, but it was more than there's that for Azza, because there's one story later in her time with the vice president that really made evident how big of an effect Kamala's influence had had.
By virtue of being her videographer, being a White House staffer, I am allowed to be closer to her than the rest of the press. I had gotten this really good shot, and other press were kind of coming in, and Secret Service asked someone to step back away from me. And this guy really loudly says, "Fuck her." I just turned around and I said, "Don't talk to me like that."
So I can't wait for the day that you just turn to me and say, "Don't talk to me like that, Remoy." Because it's definitely going to happen. Thank you, Azza, I guess. Thank you, Vice President Harris. I ain't mad at it. I mean, I will be mad at it, but I ain't mad at it.
No, it's not, because you're not a raging misogynist. So no, it's not going to happen. But thank you for your vote of confidence.
The greatest compliment you've ever given me. I'm not mad.
Of course not. No.
It's a low bar of a compliment, but yeah.
Please say that again.
Back to the story at hand. It wasn't just what the vice president told Azza or how those two interacted. Azza saw something even more salient with like how the vice president interacted with other women too, or actually just like little girls that really left a huge impression.
Oh, I can't wait to hear this one.
Well, before we get there, let me let Azza give some context first.
What I think is so incredible is how little girls are often interacted with on the basis of their looks or their outfits, right? And I was guilty of this too. Like telling a little girl, oh, your dress is so cute. Whereas with young boys, the questions are about what are they doing in school or how's sports going.
So I wanted to get to this because there it is again. That bias towards gender that we put our finger on earlier, and like, you know, how it almost unconsciously shows up so often in how boys and girls are treated or spoken to, right?
Yeah, and it's like one of those things that for me definitely humbles me because I have some good friends that have young kids, and like the little girl will like pop up with a cute little dress on, and I would be like, oh my God, your cute little dress. And I'll play with cars with a little boy, you know? So I got to check myself on my own biases. Like, yeah, I totally feel that.
I fall prey to the same. And well, as Azza saw, Kamala Harris was very intentional, though, to not let those biases win.
One time there was this 7-year-old girl, Ellie, in a photo line in Miami. She told the vice president that she really likes writing. Vice President Harris said, well, you should write a book. And this girl wrote a book. She mailed it to our office.
Oh, so did you play that clip because you're part of the literati too? That's cute.
Man, shut up, but maybe.
It is a really cute story. Bad puns and all, you know. I love it. I really love it.
Well, it doesn't just end there with the cuteness, because the vice president told Ellie one more critical thing. In fact, as Azza remembers, she would tell most, if not all girls, something very similar.
You are a leader. Look at me and tell me I am a leader. And she would wait until the kid said, I am a leader. Even the youngest kids, like 2-3 years old. And it made me think about what a different world we would live in if all little girls were taken as seriously as Kamala Harris takes them. I feel so lucky that I got to work for such a feminist icon because she changed the world for little girls like Ellie, and she changed the world for big girls like me.
That is so powerful.
Yeah, absolutely, right?
Empowering too. Empowering and powerful.
Yeah, no, that's perfectly apt. And like, but can you imagine a world where like young girls were empowered, like even as early as infants, to be like real leaders? And I'm, for my sake, like a world where boys could bear witness to that on the regular. Come on.
Oh my God. I dream of this world all the time. I dream about it all day, every day. Oh yeah. I'm here for all of this. Like,
here we go.
as I'm keen to do, when you tell these stories with love and hope, I'm going to have to put my little devil's advocate hat on. You know what I mean?
That hat, it looks so good on you. Wow.
Well, thank you. Well, thank you. But what about the people out there, right? Like probably more of the conservative, let's say male kind, who say, you know, well, who said that's why she lost. Like, no matter what they say, like women are not fit to be leaders in this country, or, you know, whatever bullshit about women not being fit.
Right. Well, let me just say, Azza has a rebuttal, quote unquote, for anyone who wants to come with that type of rhetoric. Here's Azza with more.
There have been, to my understanding, 60 presidential elections in the United States history. Women have lost the presidential election twice, and men have lost the presidential election 58 times, right? And nobody is saying, oh, I wonder if he's qualified.
I love the logic of this, right? Because you can't really dispute it. It's just hard motherfucking facts. And I love it.
Azza hitting him with the math. You're
Okay, but, you know, while we're here in the land of devilish advocacy.
sure, preacher girl Samantha. Let's go.
Well, what about liberals who were disillusioned with the Democratic Party? And to be fair, I'm looking directly at you, Remoy, when I say this, and I might also be looking at them in the mirror a little bit.
Sure. Yeah, I'm there with you. I'm in the reflection with you. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm talking about liberals who thought that Kamala and the Democratic Party were too centrist, that they weren't radical enough.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. And yes, I was definitely in that camp. But, you know, Azza has a very honest, pragmatic perspective on all that.
If you want a president who has no flaws, good luck to you. Don't live in America. But seriously, there is no presidential candidate who never stumbles or you'll never disagree with. Also, the two-party system is flawed and the Democratic Party is flawed. And there's all these flaws within our democracy, right? But at the end of the day, you vote for one of two major party candidates, or you vote for a smaller party candidate who likely will not win, or you don't vote and you still live with the consequences.
Yeah, I don't love this answer, but Oz is not necessarily wrong. And yeah,
I concur. I mean, no matter what, we're here now. And like, you know, we're like stuck living in these consequences and like,
yeah,
could have been better no matter what. So
yeah, what a reality. And unfortunately, it's like a reality one Ozza saw, like literally saw from a very intimate point of view.
You mean?
Well, this just gets us to the timely bit I mentioned earlier, because January of last year, meaning January 2025, Ozza was like literally there in the White House watching and filming as the transitions were happening between leaderships.
God, that is so wild. That must have been so surreal. Whoa.
Yeah, I don't know what I would have done. And there's actually one very symbolic moment that Ozza witnessed that like so clearly encapsulated what the transition meant at its core.
The morning of January 20th, I was in the West Wing. I remember seeing a staff person carrying the bust of Abraham Lincoln out of the Oval Office. And I thought to myself, this is such a metaphor that Donald Trump does not want the bust of Abraham Lincoln. And if it had been a president, Kamala Harris, I am sure that she would have kept it.
God, that's so... It's infuriating. It's heartbreaking. It's just, it's all the things, but also just so true.
Yeah, all of it times like co-signed by a million. I don't know, you know?
Mm-hmm. So like, okay, did you ask Azza how the vice president like handled it all? Like, I mean, I can imagine the emotional roller coaster that Kamala Harris must have been on. I'm sure she didn't show it. I'm sure she was like, you know, had a face of steel. But, you know, I mean, I don't really want to imagine that, actually.
Sure. Well, yeah, I wanted to ask us that, but we kind of like circled it a little bit. But there's one particular story, maybe like the last story from like Oz's experience from Kamala's last time as the vice president, that kind of like forever solidified what her tenure in that position really should mean for all of us Americans and for our country at large.
The last image that I'm thinking of is her last flight on Air Force Two. So Air Force One is for the president, Air Force Two is for the vice president. She requested an all-female flight crew for her last flight. And I just remember thinking, damn, down to the last minute, she made pathways for women that weren't there before. It was, I mean, unsurprisingly, the first time the Air Force had an all-female flight crew was at her request.
Okay, so when Azza was telling me this story, I could feel like the emotions bubbling up in maybe tears, almost. And maybe I could see some tears like on the corners of your eyeballs there too. I don't know. With the heartbreaking ones, I presume.
Yeah, I mean, I'm having a moment because it's like, will we ever have this moment again? You know, like the intentionality of making sure that that actually happened at least once in history, you know, and that like it may never happen again because of like where we are now and like this, like honestly, the fear about where we're headed. Yeah, it's a little choke-worthy for sure.
Yeah, no, I'm right with you. I'll just say for like my tears in that moment when I was hearing the story, it wasn't just because of like how disappointing or maddening, like frustrating was that Kamala lost, but I don't know, like real talk, maybe a little bit more disappointment in myself, like how I'd forgotten, like amidst all this disappointment and even politics of it all, like you'd pointed out, like what it really meant to have like this female, this woman, this brown, black vice president. She in part is South Asian like me. Not to mention one put so much intention like we're hearing like into the leadership, into challenging the patriarchy and white supremacy, all the status quos, right?
Yeah, I mean, she and the fact that as a woman, as a half Black, half Indian woman, she is the most qualified candidate in history, right? And like to see the way that she was treated, the fact that we are like in such polarized, like partisan bubbles that we forgot what it meant, right? You had so many dissenters who were like leftists, so to speak, who were talking shit about Kamala. And I'm like, we have to remember that this has never happened. Like we would still be stepping into uncharted territory, regardless of how fucked up our political system is. So I feel you 1000% on that.
Yeah. And I actually came across like this perspective, meaning Azza specifically, and a few of these stories she shared, because she actually wrote a really cool, really poignant piece in Slate about her experience in this videographer role.
That's amazing. We'll be sure to share that in our show notes and newsletter for sure.
Definitely. And
can't wait to read that.
Once I read that, I was so excited to get Azza on tape for our show, right? For Mask. But then in the interview, and the one I was doing with her, Azza really surprised me. Like, no bullshit, surprised me. Like, with this other element she was like secretly unveiling through the interview that came from her experience, again, with the vice president.
Back to being KG Remoy. I see. No problem. We were on a roller coaster ride of just truth and illumination.
Toes, bro. My game is solid like that. Nah, let me just let Azza's last part of our interview solve for that.
I want listeners to be skeptical of the images that they consume, because just like a biased headline or a quote taken out of context, images are created by people who are subjective and who have an agenda. It's very important that we all, in this administration, where this administration is using images to convince people of a dangerous, violent, and fascist agenda. This administration is using propaganda techniques that are similar and reminiscent of dictators around the world. And we need to be skeptical. We need to speak up, and we need to use our voices to have conversations, comment on images that are unfair of women. Images are powerful. Images are the way that we communicate with each other.
Right. Okay. So more than just like lionizing Kamala's time as the vice president, it was like Azza hearkening us to be more thoughtful, or like really like critical of like the media messages we see on the regular, right? Like what's in the frame, what's not in the frame, and why. Especially, and this is like a big part for me in this, is like, or hearing this from Azza was like when it comes to news and stories about women.
This is pivotal. What you're saying, it's so crucial, so critical, because it's like now you have to worry about like images being doctored. It's not even just like the fact that, you know, you're only showing one part of the picture. It's like even what's in the picture, it's not real. So it's like really, really critical that we question everything that we see, that we make sure that we rely on good sources of information, because there's only going to be more propaganda. There's only going to be more. So second that, third that, co-sign that 1000%.
Yeah, totally. It was a super important, great reminder. And I'm so grateful Azza brought it to my attention. Actually, if you all want more gems from Azza, you can go subscribe to her newsletter. You can find her on Substack at Azza Cohen. So that's @ AZZACOHEN. And also over on our show art, you'll see a picture of Azza and Vice President Harris. That's an official White House photograph by Lawrence Jackson. We'll list this all and more in our show notes.
Facts. And since you'll already be on Substack, you should sign up for a masculinity newsletter too. It is the same handle we use for our socials. We took our time over the holidays, but we're back, baby. And that's at Masculinity Pod. You know, that's always spelled with that hard K. And of course, our website is masculinitypod.com.
Well, Samantha, it's been a year. It's been a wild, interesting.
Yeah, y'all can't see me, but my eyes are wide open, because yes, it has. A very challenging one, a very
I have not doctored that image. Her eyes are very big and wide. That's what I'm seeing. I'm trusting the image I see.
It's a wild one. It's nice. I see what you did there. Nice.
Well, you're not wrong. But it's stories like these that, move me to keep the fight alive in any ways we can.
I'm glad to be part of these too. With you on the ride, Literati Doi Remoy.
Well, until the next one, it's your boy Remoy George Philip, the first.
And I'm Samantha Kefle. Thank you so much for listening.
Peace.
Ciao.